Sam, welcome to the Personal Best podcast.
Yo, hello.
How are you doing?
Yeah, my first ever podcast. This is pretty cool.
I know. I'm excited that this is your first podcast. So the first question I want to ask is, why Goatlifters?
So,
That's not your last name.
no, I always get that because when people fill out my online coaching form, they're like, who is this McCarthy guy? Is this a scam? I'm like, no, that's my last name. So Goatlifters, basically, in between the period of first lockdown and second, because you know how there was like three, I kind of converted for myself initially as a home gym, my garage into a gym. Started working out in it, weren't really filming videos at that point. It was just kind of, you know, the winter arc or the summer arc, whatever people call it. And in between the periods, between the first and second lockdown, I was like, I might as well start training people. Like, I'd done my personal training qualifications, level 2 and 3. And I was like, well, this is a bit of a waste. I might as well, utilize it. Kitted it out with a bit of extra kit and just thought this needs like a bit of a name, So it was actually two of us at the start. There was two Goatlifters, me and Ishmael, school friends. And we kind of we were sitting in the gym, like an actual gym car park, and we was like, we've got to name this something, we need a catchy name. And we was like, greatest of all time, I don't know, Kobe's the GOAT, And I don't even know why we were thinking of that. But it was like, we might as well call it Goatlifters, greatest of all time lifters. It's kind of cringe, when you kind of say it out loud, but we called it that. I painted a big Goatlifters on the wall of the gym, lockdown creations, whatever. And literally from there, I got a ton of clients. It was doing really well. Second lockdown hit. And yeah, I guess that's...
It just stuck from there.
Yeah, it stuck from there.
Okay, so obviously you've built this social media presence around fitness and kind of sharing your journey, but take me back a little bit. How did you first get into fitness and start training in the gym?
Probably, you know what? Probably with the home gym. So we built, my dad, who's actually passed away now, built a home gym for me, kind of because I bragged about it over summer. I was like, I want to get into gym, want to do gym. And he kind of surprised me. He got back from, because I used to live in Portugal. We weren't actually living there at the time. I just went on holiday out there, got back, and he was like, all right, this is your space, because I was too young to join a gym. He was like, you can do gym here. I was like, wicked, all we had is it was a blue rubber floor, a couple adjustable dumbbells, and that's it, and a pull-up bar. I forgot the question. Tell me the question again.
How did you get into
How do you get into gym? Okay, so yeah, basically my dad kind of built me a little home gym and said, do what you want to do.
Yeah,
get on
so
with it.
from that age, I'm guessing that was pre-16.
Yeah, for sure. I don't even know exactly probably 12 or 11,
That's
early.
young.
Yeah, really.
And from that point then, why did you continue training? What was it that appealed to you about it, do you think?
All right, so this is now a bit of a crazy story. So at the time, we didn't have a next door neighbour. And then someone just moved in, and he was a big guy, big motherfucker. And I to this day don't actually know his name. He introduced himself as H, which is so weird. And he was just my next door neighbour. I always used to see him training in the garden, and we used to have a big field, training on the field and stuff. And then one day my dad introduced me to him, was like, all right, we've got this little home gym, we'll pay you whatever, train him up. What was the question again? I was supposed to go on.
It's okay. Why did you stick with the gym?
Why did I stick with the gym? So he kind of had a space to train because he didn't have a gym membership. I don't actually know why at the time, but he didn't have a gym membership. But this is at the point where we kitted out the gym a little bit more, not crazy. We had a treadmill, we had dumbbells, a bench, a barbell. And basically the mutual relationship between H and me was he trains me, gets paid I don't even know what my dad was paying him. But basically I had a PT, so someone to guide me, a mentor from I don't know, 12 years old. And then from there, I used to train with him, and then obviously 75% of it is diet. And you're probably thinking 12 years old to get on a diet plan. But I used to have meal prep brought to school from 12,
Really?
Chicken and rice. Yeah, nuts.
Most
Absolute.
kids are Nutella sandwiches.
No.
And
chicken.
Pringles.
Yeah, chicken and rice from 12, made by him. We used to pay him again, I think. And yeah, essentially, I used to just go gym every single day with this guy, H, who turned out to be, a really close friend of mine. He was I don't know, 30 at the time, 28 or something. And yeah, kind of just from there,
Wow,
really.
so he sounds like a really positive influence.
I guess, yeah, him and my dad were probably the two biggest influences gym-wise.
Yeah, and I think everybody needs that, because when I started out training, I mean, I think we signed up to a gym, me and my friend, at like the back end of secondary school, and we just went and just tried out different machines, and we didn't know what we were doing. But had someone come along and shown me how to train in the gym and
Makes
go
life
strength,
easier.
it would have been so much
Yeah,
easier.
100%.
Because I was just figuring it out from like no knowledge at all.
Yeah.
So I'm pleased that you had that experience. Something I do want to talk about is the transformation that you've had.
Right.
Because when I started following you on social media, that was kind of the content that kept coming up. Because you've lost over 20 kg.
Yeah, I think it was about like 23 or 25, somewhere around that.
Yeah,
kilos.
and even just from the short form videos that I've watched, to see your transformation has been incredible. But I just wondered if you could talk through that and how that's benefited you both physically and mentally.
So a lot of people don't actually know this, but I wasn't actually always fat. Like, I actually started skinny. So what happened was, during like at the end of the third lockdown, you know, terrified of COVID, you know, like absolutely terrified of COVID. Like, I don't know, everyone else, you know, it's a scam. I was genuinely probably on the other end, where it was like, we've got a lockdown, you know, I didn't go out, kind of stuck indoors. And I actually caught COVID only on the third lockdown. So like over that Christmassy period. And I was indoors, stupid me, still, you know, used to go to the home gym, train with COVID, come back upstairs, train with COVID, come back upstairs. And I was locked down with my girlfriend. And we, you know, she was quite strict on it as well. So she was locked down with me, and we was just in my bedroom watching movies, you know, in the gym. And then from there, it got to about like Christmassy period, like just before Christmas. And, you know, my world kind of like flipped upside down. My dad actually had a heart attack. And then from that, like, you know, I was like, and it wasn't just like a small heart attack. It was like, he went into a coma, and it was like really crazy. Yeah. And obviously you know, the coming upstairs and going downstairs to train fucking fell out the window, you know.
Of course.
Yeah. And then this period, obviously, I recovered from COVID, but he was just in the hospital, and we couldn't see him because obviously it was everything was locked down. They weren't having people in the hospital or anything. So it was tough, really tough. And then, so tell me the question again.
The physical transformation.
Yeah. So obviously at this point, not super skinny. I was probably more in shape than skinny, but on the skinnier side. And then from that, 2 weeks go by. I probably didn't sleep an ounce for 2 weeks because he was in this coma. Obviously, I was with my mum, my little brother, and my girlfriend. And we got the news that he passed away sort of mid-December. And obviously, like, everything went out the window, like gym, diet. Obviously, from a young age, like 12, like that was my life, you know, like training and dieting. And then from that news, I just thought, like, there is no point in doing anything, you know. I just kind of sat down and thought, fuck life, really. And then I probably I didn't sit there and dwell on it for time. Obviously, I was heartbroken. I still am. I don't think I've even got over grief now, to be honest. And it's been probably like 2.5 odd years since that day. But I didn't go gym for, I'd say, about 3 weeks after that happened. It probably, to a lot of people, like, fuck, I wouldn't go gym ever again. Like, that's it. Like, you know, dwelling on it. But after them 3 weeks, I was like, nah, fuck that. I'm gonna get back onto my grind. And kind of where I hadn't gone gym for them 3 weeks, like, and I didn't eat. Like, I did not eat a single thing. I was stick thin. Probably weighed about 70 kilos. And then from there, I was like, that's it. Like, if I'm gonna do it for anything, I'm gonna do it kind of for my dad, sort of thing. I'm a train for my dad. And, you know, done a ton of research. You know, I was on my own at this point, wasn't with H. And I was like, what is the fastest way to put on muscle, you know?
Oh, right, yeah.
And the only thing that kind of showed up for me, like kind of stood out to me, was like a dirty approach to bulking. Like, I've got to pack in as many calories as possible.
As quick as possible.
Like, I am going to die trying eating these calories. And at the time, like, I would have done it myself. Like, I kind of had the knowledge to do it by myself, but I just wanted that extra guidance. So I got a coach. And And like, yes, he was great, but he stuck me on about 6,500 calories a day, for 3 months. And I went from about 70 kilos, 72, to about 97 in the space of 3 months, and like ballooned. So that's where the before picture, where I start my transformation, comes from, the bigger area.
Yeah.
Obviously I gained a ton of muscle throughout the process, because like when I'm talking, I'm training.
You're still training.
Yeah, I wasn't doing social media at this point either. Like I was a tiny bit like posting every now and again, but like nothing serious. I was literally headphones on in the gym, and it was still the home gym at this point, because it was still technically lockdown. So I was like in the gym, freezing cold, winter, jumpers on, probably wore about 3 jumpers to the gym, just training day, night. Sometimes I'd like, where I had to get all these calories in, eat throughout the day, go gym at like 1 a.m, train, go to bed. And it was like, my girlfriend probably hated me, but she understood that like, like with everything going on, I've got to deal with it in my own way. And I guess like my form of dealing with the grief was gym and dieting. So I really did, like, I would get to the point of where it was like 6,500 calories a day. Like my last meal sometimes used to be at like midnight, and I'd like drink this shake. And I remember like it probably happened it felt like every single time, because I felt sick every single time, but it probably happened about 4 times where I'd drink it, throw up all over the kitchen, make the meal again, and drink it again. Yeah, it was like gruesome, like disgusting. After the 3 months, when I got to my heaviest weight, like I kind of looked myself in the mirror and I was like, well, shit, like I've got to do something about this. Like I can't he wanted, like my coach at the time, was like, all right, it's time to potentially, cut off the bulk. We don't need to bulk anymore. At the time, I knew this like 2 months ago. So I was like, all right, sacked off the coach, not because he was shit. Like he made me, I guess, partially who I am today. However, I just thought like, I've kind of got to do this by myself sort of thing a little bit. And yeah, like I guess social media come about probably when I was at my I was posting all before this, but probably when I was at my biggest, that's where kind of social media helped me as well with the grief side of things. I remember I'd post something and you kind of get that sense of like instant gratification,
definitely.
like you get them likes, and it didn't happen all at once. Like maybe even like I'd get 100 views on a video, I'd be like, shit. And sometimes I remember one of my first videos that done well, I made a video on, taking creatine and why that's helped me with my lifts and stuff. And it got like 19,000 views on TikTok. And I was like, shit, like I've made it, And I just remember like I'd sit there refreshing my phone. And I had a few times like Amy, my girlfriend, be like, Sam, like you've got to relax. Like you can't keep refreshing your phone. This ain't good for your mind. But like, even now, I am a little bit like that, but I've definitely relaxed. But at the time, it was like, no, this is the only thing keeping my mind sane on my dad passing away. Like, obviously, some time's gone past since then. Not a lot, like probably like 4 or 5 months. But like, that was literally, other than training and dieting, the only thing that I didn't go into like depression,
Yeah.
It was like that instant gratification.
There is so much I want to unpack here, and we'll get on to kind of the fat loss side of things. But I'm really sorry about your dad.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I was going to bring this up, but I lost my dad really recently.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and we had a complex relationship, but grief takes its form in many ways.
Yeah.
But I think there is definitely something to be said for kind of like channeling your focus into something else, which sounds like you did that.
Yeah, 100%.
And yeah, it's been a really tricky thing to navigate, because I think part of you just wants to, lie in bed and not do anything. And people do that, and I think that's perfectly fine. But then the other part of you kind of wants to like still push on forward and, do things that are gonna be good for you, and also to make your dad proud in a way. And I've kind of recently had this really renewed sense of like passion for like work in the gym and like, investing time into my friendships and relationships. So I think it's something to be really proud of, that you were able to kind of channel what you were going through into your fitness journey. And maybe you made some mistakes along the way, but it was still great to have that as your focus, for sure. So you're then at this point where you're kind of looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like, not maybe necessarily happy with how you looked.
100%.
What were the choices you made after that?
So it was weird.
To get to where you are.
Around about this point, obviously I've started social media. I'm too deep to kind of stop now. Like I didn't have following, but like I've put a lot of time and effort into it. And I used to go live every single time I went gym, like just put it up on the thing and just go live. And people used to watch me, you know, probably like 8 people at the time, but like watch me train. And then one person that joined, James Beardwell, joined my live, who's now, you know, I'd class him as my best friend, one of my best friends, you know, joined my live and not joined it as in a viewer. Like I accepted him. We done like a dual live, but it was kind of like a FaceTime in a way. We've never had any proper contact before this really. And we kind of just like, we knew of each other. We live near each other. But we've never chatted. I've known nothing really about him other than he's got TikTok. I've got TikTok. His is way bigger than mine. Still is. Anyway, but he, you know, we had a chat and obviously no gyms were open at the time. So I guess, you know, I had a gym. And we kind of had a chat and was like, you know, do you want to come down for a session? And we trained together. And then from there, he was like, oh, like, what are your plans? Like, what are you doing? And I was like, I really don't know, to be honest. Like, I don't really know. I had a few thoughts before this, like I might go uni, might not. I didn't really want to go down the path of uni 100%. I wanted to kind of, you know, get out in the working world, maybe be like a stockbroker or something. I didn't really know. And he was like, yeah, like I'm going Loughborough. I didn't really have Loughborough. I viewed Loughborough uni, but I didn't really like it at the time. Like when I went to view it, I was thinking more like Exeter or something like that. And he was like, well, I'm going Loughborough. Like it's sick for sports. Like you obviously go gym, like you might as well go. And I was like, you know what? Like, I might as well like send it. You know, I was already way past the due date, but however, obviously we put in a mitigating circumstances, got into Loughborough. Like I got decent A levels, like AAB or whatever. So I had the grades. I just was way past the acceptance date, you know, but I got in, we were staying in not the same accommodation, but the same like Claudia Parsons. You know what I mean? Like, it was the same block, if you call it that.
Yeah.
And then from there, like we kind of, what was the question again?
Your fat loss journey.
Just to like, you know, talk about why I keep saying, what was that about again? I am diagnosed with a thing called short-term memory loss. When I was in primary school, it was a struggle. Definitely worked on it loads, but it's kind of like Finding Nemo Dory.
So we have Dory on the podcast.
I'm not crazy.
It's fine. So you're at Loughborough with James. Was that kind of where the transformation started?
Yeah, I guess so. So obviously I've tried a little bit and fouled a little bit, to be honest. I didn't really have that crazy motivation that I initially had from the start to lose the weight. Like it kind of like left me a little bit. Like obviously my life was a little bit more organized. I knew what I was doing, so I didn't really have in the back of me that crazy motivation that I had at the start. Going to Loughborough definitely helped with that. Seeing people like James, you know, smashing it, looks like phenomenal, you know. And there's like a ton of other people, like this GB athletes, like what's his name, Anthony Joshua, that was living down the block, like next to me, or whatever. And I was like, you know what, like I'm a black, give this a go, you know. Like, I'm actually put my all into this. And it probably took like 9 months, I reckon, like solid, like ups, downs, like it was a full roller coaster, but 9 months to lose the 25 kilos, whatever, and get down to like my lowest of like 74. And like, I looked pretty skinny at that point. But I reckon going to Loughborough, being around like-minded people, like having them connections. I feel like what a lot of people don't do is kind of like, and it's promoted so much on social media, like kind of like grinding in silence, doing it on your own, which is actually stupid. I think like you shouldn't be alone. You should always have or try to be with like-minded people. Because I always get the DMs as well, like, oh, how do you stay so motivated? How do you stay so motivated all the time? Like half of it is obviously determination. Like you can't be motivated all the time. But I'd say like the other half is just having people in your corner, whether it be your coach or your friends or your family. It doesn't have to look like a certain place. It doesn't have to be James, you know, or Will for me, like them people. But just having people in your corner to push you forward, you can't do it alone. Like it's impossible.
Yeah, it's something Chris Williams said, that he has kind of built his circle. Yeah. And the people that are in it, he genuinely aspires to be like they inspire him.
100%.
And I think that's really important.
Yeah, for
if you're going on this journey.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, that's good background of kind of how you got there. I wondered if you could share, for anybody listening, your fat loss tips, because I think it's something that gets thrown around a lot, like a fat burner workout or a certain diet or something. But, you know, through your journey, what have you learned?
Yeah, so I would say, like, as I said, it was a roller coaster. It wasn't like I went just down in weight and gradually went down and saw the progression each time. Like I probably went down, went on holiday, went back up and went back down. Like it was up and downs 100%. But I'd say like sitting here now, looking back on it, like what are my like biggest sort of takeaways from the journey?
Yeah.
Probably like there's no right way to go about it. Like you don't need to sit there and be like, yeah, I need to be, you know, in a 200 calorie deficit per day, like doing 200 steps, cardio steps, whatever it may be. Like you have to deal with it in your own kind of way. Like for me, I am very all or nothing. Like can't take half measures. Like I have to go fully in. So yeah, I was probably eating, you know, boring meals of chicken and rice every single day.
Yeah.
And I was doing the fasted cardio, even though people say that fasted cardio is bullshit. I even know that it's kind of bullshit. You don't have to do it fasted. You can do it late at night. But for me, I knew that if I'd done that fasted cardio, I've completed something in the day, you know.
As well.
But then I knew that if I'd done that fasted cardio, I could potentially do more later. Like I always wanted to kind of tick over. So for me, it was kind of the all or nothing approach. And if I did, you know, throw the toys out the pram and have a cheat day, I would go all in and probably eat 10, 20,000 calories, like big, you know. So looking back at that, I know that that was wrong. I feel like the best way to go about losing weight is know that you can never be perfect. You can never be all or nothing. You have to do it by, you know, having them planned mess up days, you know, cheat days, cheat meals. You can't just think, yeah, I'm going to be perfect 100% of the time, because you end up driving yourself crazy, which I did. Now, obviously, since I lost all that weight, there's been a whole nother year where I've gone through a mini bulk and another cut, which people don't really see, obviously, too much. And on that one, it was so much easier because, yeah, I enjoy the odd chocolate cake. I enjoy the odd, you know, meal with my girlfriend or whatever. Obviously, they're not a lot. And Amy, I'm sorry if you're watching this, like she probably wants to go on way more dates, but you do have to be kind of, you know, self-disciplined, self-strict to be like, all right, I can't go on a date every weekend, you know. But like, I feel like the best kind of weight loss advice is if you do, you know, fuck up badly and eat your, you know, your cheat foods, you don't go to the gym a day, don't the next day, don't throw the towel in, or even don't the next day think, oh yeah, I have to, you know, do 1,000 more calories of cardio or eat 10,000 less calories. Because I think
then you get in this like toxic cycle, don't you, of constantly like overindulging or not doing your exercise and then trying to compensate for it. And then
you just have to jump back on the bandwagon, you know, you just have to jump back on where you're at, that kind of thing, the day before, and treat that as, yeah, I fucked up, get back on the horse the next day. That's what I'd say the main thing is.
Something else as well. So obviously when you lose the weight and you might be happy with where you're at then, how do you then, I know you've done a bit of a bulk and a cut again, but for most people, how do they then like keep it off?
I would say that is the toughest thing. The toughest part of it is keeping it off, you know? Like, obviously, I've got clients at the minute trying to do that exact thing. But obviously, for me anyway, I had the big motivation for the bulk, you know, like my dad passing away. Obviously, I'm not saying that in no, like, you know, jokey manner. Like, that was...
No, of course not.
That obviously had a massive burst, managed to do bulk, which is tough for people. But then, obviously, the cut, in my opinion, is the easiest part. The losing the weight is easy. All you've got to do is, follow a plan. You're going down, you're seeing the results. And if you don't see the results, you just got to take away calories or increase the cardio, or, you know, there's always something you can do to lose more weight, but maintaining it, you've got no vision, you know, you've got no, all right, I want to be in 4 months here. It's just like, I want to be the same. And also the
weight loss part is kind of time blocked. So you can kind of think, okay, in 3 months time,
I want to look like this.
I'm going to look like this. But then you've got the rest of your life.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I personally feel like you should never ever get to a point where you're like, all right, I'm sweet, I want to maintain it. I feel like there should always be a goal. Maybe not a weight goal, but I feel like the best way to maintain where you're at
have a new
goal. Yeah, have a new goal. Like, I have people come to me and be like, all right, like, or I say to people, all right, like, this is what you've set out to do. You've done it. You've lost 10 kilos. You're looking amazing. Like, what do you want to do? And they go, I don't know, like, this was my goal. Like, maybe we should call it a day with a coach. And I'm like, well, listen, like, I've had that in the past, you know, like, even myself, like, I've called it a day with a coach and I just don't know where to go from here. And you end up bouncing back and end up either coming back to me or just being, you know, fucked. Do you know what I mean? So what I say to him is, have you ever been interested in anything else? Like, for a lot of people, it's like, all right, I've always kind of wanted to do 10 pull-ups, you know? And like, all right, let's work towards that. And it's like, we'll do the 10 pull-ups. They've done that. All right, I really want to, you know, hit a 180 deadlift. And it's like, so even though you're not focusing on the weight aspect now, like the, you know, I want to go up 10 kilos, down 10 kilos. You might not be into like the bodybuilding side of things, gaining muscle, losing fat, whatever.
Yeah.
Having another goal in mind keeps you ticking. I feel like you can never be goalless.
Goal.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty sound advice. So we've spoken about kind of the physical transformation. Something I want to also talk about is the mental transformation that's come with improving the way you look, probably improving your fitness as well, because you made a TikTok showing your glow up, if I can call it that. And you said in that you were someone who was wearing oversized clothes to maybe hide how they looked, and you didn't have much confidence and you felt like the fat friend. What changed in your mindset that then led you to be in a better place, if you are in a better place?
So yeah, that's where it's at really right now, I'd say. Like, obviously, looking back to where I was, like, remembering where you started is definitely a massive ego boost, you know? I'm no longer, like, I can look at myself happily in the mirror and be like, you're not fat, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But even now, like, this quote, actually, I don't know where the origin from is it from, or whatever, however you say that, but Will, when we was in LA, actually, because me and Will, obviously, love everyone in LA, you know, the Fagan twins, James, whatever, Brandon. But obviously, I did.
These are all like gym fitness
guys. Yeah, hopefully they'll know. But even though, you know, that was the best shape I've ever been in, you know, like I was lean, I had abs, you know, I had the veins, whatnot. Like, I'd still look at their physiques, even like Will, James's, whatever, and be like, fuck, like, I wish, like, why can't I just look like that, you know?
And
I remember
yourself.
Yeah, and I'd even say it to him, like, why don't I look like you? You know, like, I remember even saying that when I was in the best shape I've ever been in. And Will looked at me and was like, oh, I was watching this podcast the other day, and God, for the life of me, I don't remember who it was. But so I'm just going to say this quote come from Will. But he was like to me, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah. I think it's Theodore Roosevelt, but
Was
we'll
it?
attribute it to Will Bailey.
Will Bailey told me this quote. And I was like, you know what? That makes so much sense, because, you know, Will's not had the fat loss journey I've had. James ain't had the fat loss journey I've had. None of them have had the fat loss journey I've had. So if anything, I could look back and be like, I am sick, you know, I am amazing, because I've managed to do that even with everything going on in my normal life, like my dad passing away, all that personal life. And be like, yeah, like, I've managed to do something that none of these guys have done, you know? So if I look at that, I could be like, fuck, I am the guy, you know? So it's all about perspective and how you look at it. Maybe I don't have the biceps James have. Maybe I don't have the chest Will has, but like, I am the best version of me, you know?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You know what I mean?
That is what this whole podcast is about. It's called The Personal Best for a reason, like becoming the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
And it's something that Hercules, who was another guest that I had on, he's shared this, and he said, don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20.
Yeah, 100%.
Because there'll also be people listening who do feel a bit out of shape, and they might look at you now and think, oh, why don't I look like Sam? You know, everyone's comparing themselves to somebody else and not thinking about their own journey.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's so much easier said than done. Like, we all compare ourselves.
Yeah,
but
even me just saying this now, I'll walk out of it and be like, look on my phone, look at the fitness influencer, about why does he look like that? And I don't, do you know what I mean? Like, so I'm saying this and I'm trying to still trick myself into believing that, but I'm still, obviously, I'm human. I'm still going to compare myself to other people. It's natural.
Of course.
And I still think there is a good element, which people don't really talk about too much. It is good to compare yourself, even though comparison is the thief of joy, because it is another form of motivation for a lot of people to push towards that.
I think as long as it doesn't make you resentful, and instead it's like a source of inspiration. 100%. Exactly. Because, you know, most of the time, if that inner critic is saying to you like, oh, like you could be in better shape or you could earn more money, it's because it's coming from a place of truth. So then rather than it making me bitter, I think, oh, okay, like maybe if I listen to it, I can then try and improve on that.
1,000%.
But on the whole, do you like, how's your headspace now, having kind of gone through this journey and, you know, still making fitness content? Like, are you kind of happy with where you're at?
I would say I'm happy, but I want more, you know? Like, I definitely feel like I'm, as you said, chapter 1. This was only the beginning. I feel like there's so much more to come. I don't even know where it's going to go, you know? I feel like, obviously, a big aspect of, for me, I was terrified to do bulk number 2. Obviously, after bulk number 1, I was so scared to think, all right, I'm going to have to, lose the abs. I was never, ever going to get as fat as that again, because that was wrong and no one should ever do that. No one should ever dirty bulk. You should always do the lean approach, But to even do a lean approach to bulking, you're still going to gain a little bit of weight. And that kind of scared me because I was like, will I be able to? Obviously, I don't have that motivation that I had the first time round. Like, I'm in a place now where I'm like, I could just, lean bulk and think, all right, I'm just going to stay like that. But after now being in the lean bulk now, like, I ain't really got the abs I had then. I'm confident in myself that I can do it again. Like, going through all that, like doing it the big time once round, I'm confident that you can push through. It is just literally the case of flipping a switch.
And also, you now know the mistakes you made the first time
100%.
round, so you're not going to repeat them.
1000%.
It's something Jonah Hill, the actor.
Yeah.
I think he's been in a bit of hot water recently, but anyway, he made a documentary with his therapist, and one of the things that he explained was this idea that people carry around a shadow.
Yep.
And he literally made this cardboard cutout of Jonah Hill when he was really overweight.
Yeah.
And he said, you're carrying this round with you. You don't see yourself as this now good-looking, successful, multi-millionaire actor. You still see yourself as that overweight, insecure teenage kid. And he's like, you have to let go of that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's quite the same level, but maybe there is that part of you that thinks, I don't want to be that guy again.
Yeah, 100%.
But like, you're not. And also, going through this bulk phase, like, being uncomfortable is important as well.
Yeah.
Because if it was super easy, then it almost wouldn't be worthwhile doing.
Yeah.
But it's in pursuit of a better goal and becoming a better version of you, which I think is something everybody should strive for. So in all of this, I know you might have touched on it already, but what is your biggest source of motivation? And it's come up a bit on this podcast because I think it is a really interesting topic, because everybody has different sources, everybody has different things that drive them. But what is it that keeps you driving forward?
You know what, like, obviously the pursuit of being better is definitely one of them. However, I'd say like my actual source of motivation is kind of like stems all the way back to kind of family, Like, obviously I've got a little brother. I've introduced him to the gym. Like, that was a series I done of TikTok, but it weren't even really for TikTok, because at the start he hated the gym. Like, he genuinely hated it. I didn't understand it, because at his age I loved it. I got myself, like, not myself, my dad did, but like, I loved it, from the get-go. But I remember there was times where I brought my little brother to the gym, the home gym even, and he cried because he didn't want to be there. And I was like, no, like, he don't like it, but how are we going to kind of bond? Because he was more into like the action figures and the games. I've never been into that,
Right, okay.
So I guess now that he's got social media as well, and he's growing, and he's only 14.
14?
Yeah. Like, he's incredible, I would say at the very moment, my biggest motivation is him, like, he is crazy because he's way better than me. Why I was at 14, he's had a good coach, but like, I know that if now I got fat or I fell off, he's gonna be like, Sam, mate, are you a waste of space? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of in the back of my mind, like, I can't fall off because I know that my little brother is watching me,
Yeah,
so I feel like that. And obviously, like, outside of that as well, like, still in the back of my mind, I know I've got to make my dad proud. And I couldn't just, like, I remember, family is my motivation, I guess.
That's such a lovely answer, because I think a lot of people do get caught up on the materialistic things, and it's like, I just want more money and I want more clout and all of that, but actually it's coming from a really genuine place. I did want to ask you about your brother, but you've kind of touched on it there. Like, how have you balanced kind of being the loving big brother but also a coach and a mentor?
So it is tough, innit? Obviously, like, I'd say he's more dedicated than me.
Really?
Like, there's been times where I've had a cheat meal, and I've come back in, like, after I've told him, I'll be like, yeah, I had like, a bit of cake after my dinner or whatever, and he goes, Sam, you like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh shit, like, we have a joke in like my mum and my girlfriend and stuff. They're like, he is my mini manager, like, if I post something on TikTok or whatever and it don't do well, we're just like, yeah, you could have done this different or this different. So it hasn't really been a case of having to balance it. Like we kind of have, we
Happen naturally.
yeah, we kind of grow together. We're both into the same thing. So it's like, I've never ever, I'd say the biggest balance for me is a relationship and gym. Not really, like, 'cause family, obviously, it kind of, it comes with it, you know, like having a mum, she's always going to support you. A little brother, thank God we're into the same things. You know, if he didn't like the gym, I'd be like, oh, I don't know. Like, I'd obviously still love him, but we've got that bond, you know, like it's inseparable.
Yeah,
But
it's kind of, what's the word? Like it's on instinct.
yeah, like it's not really been a case of I've had to, you know, maybe compromise what I like to kind of see what he likes. Like, we are the same person, you know. He loves the gym. He's on a diet plan at 14, you know. Not specifically like he still eats family meals and whatnot. Like, not trying to promote eating disorders, whatever. I definitely had one, but like, yeah, with relation, like I'd say like girlfriend boyfriend relationship. Obviously, my girlfriend.
Yeah,
I would
why
say
has that been tricky?
it's not been in like tricky in any way. Obviously, like I love her and stuff. But I would say like obviously there are aspects of it where I would say I did struggle a little bit with food and stuff. Like I used to go on holidays and think, all right, I can't eat out, like family holidays and think, all right, I've got to take a protein bar with me because I can't, you know, eat whatever they're serving because I don't know what calories are in it and stuff. So I reckon I've still brought a bit of that younger self of me to the relationship side of things, where it's like, maybe I should go on more dates or maybe I should do that. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, all right, I don't want to fall off, you know? I don't want to go on a date when I know that there's people out there grinding, not going on dates, not eating out. Like, so I guess that's the hard thing. I've got to balance being a boyfriend, which I don't have to struggle for because I love being a boyfriend. I wouldn't change it for the world. But I feel like we've definitely had arguments about this subject, you know, like arguing about like, oh, like she is the most supportive person I could have asked for, you know. And I always see like boys out there being like, oh, like the single life, whatever. That's never really appealed to me, you know. I've never been out there clubbing. I hate clubbing. That's another subject we'll have to touch on in a sec. But like, I guess that's the harder thing, having to realize in myself that I need to work to be a good boyfriend. I don't need to work to be a good brother because that's come naturally, you know. But like from, I guess, being the fatter person to doing that, she's stuck with me throughout. So now that I'm in a position where I can go on the occasional date, I should take that opportunity more, and I am working on that.
Yeah, and also that says a lot about the person you are, that you want to be a good boyfriend and be a good brother and son, and also be someone that trains really hard in the gym and puts effort into their content, because trying to balance all of that can be quite tricky.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's the fact that you want to be good at all those things is why it's more difficult. Do you know what I mean? If you didn't give a shit, then something else would just like,
it wouldn't be on my mind.
Wouldn't
sort
bother.
Of thing. Yeah.
So I think that's very admirable, and it is tricky, and especially, I mean, even if you're in a relationship, I guess there's more temptation to like go for nice meals and go on weekends away and like not train. But even if you are single, like I've found that if I'm going on dates, it always revolves drinking and like 3 or 4 cocktails and then maybe some food and then blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, this isn't like helping me with my fitness goals.
No, and I get that. Like my girlfriend isn't into the gym at all, really. She don't really go to the gym. Like, she don't have to, you know, like she looks amazing, whatever. And she don't really look what she eats. Like anyway. But like, definitely, I feel like there needs to be more date options that don't involve food and drinking, you know, like just, why can't we? I don't know what there is. Someone needs to help me.
I know. Or just like, I don't know, a long walk.
Yeah.
It's a bit dull though.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe we'll make something.
Yeah.
Amazing. So what is next for you? I mean, I'm sure some things are kept under wraps, but what are your goals kind of moving forward now in terms of your fitness goals or building your brand, anything like that?
Yeah, so I don't know when this is coming out. I don't know how long, like how much you wait.
Soon.
But yeah, so this Sunday, I'm actually moving out of my family home for the first time, obviously other than uni. I've alluded to this a little bit and told people a little bit. I guess it's not fully out there, but I'm moving into an apartment in Manchester, which is big for me. Obviously, I'll be away from family. With uni, it was different. I used to come back every other weekend and stuff. With this, like, I'm going to have to be there for a long period of time, you know, because I'm paying for it and stuff. But not only that, like, when I'm out there, I really want to focus on just me, you know. Like before it was like kind of, you know, I wanted to make friends like at uni, connections and stuff, but now I've done all that, you know. Like I've made my group of mates. I don't really want to seek to, obviously I'm always going to want to, you know, make friends with people and find new connections and stuff, but like this move is really kind of me. Like I want to go there. I do eventually want to start my own podcast. Don't know when, don't know how, don't know what about, whatever, but that is definitely there because I love what you're doing, you know, like these longer form conversations no one gets to see on like TikTok, Instagram, you know. So definitely that is in the works. And like also like I've always had like a massive passion for like actual like cementing a product, you know. I don't know specifically what, but you put your work into social media, you get that instant gratification, but having something to build upon,
a physical thing,
you know. And I've obviously played about with a few ideas, but it's just more kind of longer term gratification, if that's a word. I don't know what the term for it is, but like it's almost like going to be like my baby. I don't know what, but like that's what I want to do. That's the whole point of the move. Make something out of brick and mortar, like, and
because that was kind of my next question, is like, why the move? Like, why has that been a decision?
I feel like living at home is great, and obviously the support is great. Mum still does weekly food shops. But when you're in your own headspace, like, you're just so much more creative in yourself, and like you get no other influence from anyone else. Because I feel like with social media, there is so much copy and paste, you know, which is, I feel like, the best way to get started. You know, you're going to get inspiration from people. That's what's going to go viral when you know, closely copy someone's video, you know, following trends, etc. However, if you want to kind of be yourself and do your own thing, and if you look at the biggest names out there, like the Matt Does Fitnesses, the Joe Fazers, the Sam Sulik, you know, they are literally themselves. They've clearly had a journey, do you know what I mean, and found who they are, and that's what I want to do by the move. I kind of want to, because I feel like even to this, like, yeah, I've had a fat loss journey, whatever, but I kind of want to, like, who is Sam Goatlifters? That's what I want to find, you know?
And the thing with that as well is you only know who you are in the context of, like, a boy living in Essex with his family and around your friends and stuff. And whilst that is a lovely environment to be in, it doesn't necessarily encourage personal growth. It's almost like you need to have some time on your own, be independent. And that's where change can come.
100%. Like, you can't be comfortable all the time. Like, I feel like when I'm sat at home at night, 8 p.m. or whatever, watching a movie with a family, or sitting there's stuff in the fridge, there's snacks in the fridge, I might go nick I don't know, whatever.
Protein.
Like, we'll say protein, definitely not a chocolate bar. Anyway, like, you're comfortable, you know, you've kind of got to be uncomfortable in order to grow. Like, you can't be scared of being uncomfortable. Like, obviously, when I'm living alone, like, I am fending for myself. Obviously, I know I've always got family to fall back on and etc. But I don't want to have to. Like, I want to be in that, because that's where you see the biggest people kind of, you know, flower, you know, when they've been in that uncomfortable situation and done it for themselves, rather than kind of relying on other people, relying on that comfortability of just having people around you. I'd want to just kind of go on my own adventure.
Nice. Yeah. So my last question to you, which I ask everybody, is if you had to give one piece of advice or a quote or a mantra to help people achieve their personal best, what would it be?
So this is a tricky one, you know. Like, I have actually, before this podcast, been thinking of a ton of things. Obviously, I said a quote earlier from Will. So shout out to Will. But I'd say, like, the biggest thing that has stuck with me throughout my whole journey, obviously from the very beginning, was a quote from my dad. And it was, learn to listen, listen to learn. And it's kind of like, you know, you've got to learn to listen. Like, you're not just going to sit in, like, even back in classroom days, you've kind of got to sit there and actually, like, you know, learn to be able to listen to people, like people teaching you from above, which I feel like I have done, you know. I've had them mentors and I've learned from them. But you've also got to kind of, like, listen to learn. Like, if you're not willing to kind of sit there and actually absorb the information, then it's just going to be thrown away. And I feel like that's what I'm kind of going on to now. Like, I've got to kind of listen to all the things that I've been given to and kind of learn my own path, sort of thing, going on to Manchester. Obviously, it feels like, fucking hell, who am I? Like, some guru? No, like, I'm kind of just starting afresh, going to Manchester, going in my own apartment, and we're going to see some crazy things, I think. And I feel like, learn to listen, listen to learn is what everyone should kind of think about, you know?
I really like that. It took me a minute. I was like, wait, and then and then now I get it. Like, there's a willingness to learn, but then also you have to be able to kind of take that information on board as well. Because I think a lot of people, especially in this like self-help space, you know, they might read a book like Atomic Habits or something and then put the book down and never act on it.
Yeah, go bed, forget everything. If it was me, I'd be reading a page, turn it over, forgetting it. But you've actually got to put the work in.
You've got to put the work in, and you've got to kind of be willing to do the things that you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
You know, you can't say I'm going to be the person and I'm going to do this and then just dream about it at night. Like, you've got to actually put action to words. So that is really, really great advice. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
It's gone so quick,
It's gone really quick. But I just wanted to say as well that obviously this is the Personal Best podcast, and I genuinely do think you're someone that has worked really hard to become a better version of themselves.
Thank you.
And not to dwell on the sad things, but, you know, when people have difficult things happen in their life, I think it would be so easy to just kind of dwell in that and, you know, not try and do anything more or become anything more. But you have been able to do that despite what happened. And I think you should be really proud of yourself.
Thank you,
keep
Ruby.
doing what you're doing. It's amazing. And excited to see whatever business thing you come up with. Where can people go if they want to find you online or check out coaching or anything?
So it's literally Sam_Goatlifters, everything. If you want to obviously join the coaching team, there are spaces available. So it's just Sam Goatlifters. The links are in my bio, and it's just Sam Goatlifters on everything.
Any codes you want to plug?
Code GOAT, GOAT. Absolutely everything. Gymshark, ESN, Hardbody, yeah.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you for having me.